This video is sponsored by Ugreen. I've got my hands on the Project Kill Switch, and I want to make a video talking about my thoughts on this new case for the Steam Deck. Now, regardless of how you might feel about the pricing or the marketing or how dbrand basically handled the rollout, I want to just put that stuff aside and talk about the enclosure itself. Now, full transparency here, I didn't pay for this. dbrand sent it to me for free, and I don't have to make a video about it, and they're not going to see this video before you do. This is not sponsored by dbrand. However, this video is sponsored by something I think a lot of Steam Deck users are going to want to check out because I think you're going to find it interesting. If you are anything like me, then you probably really like gadgets, and I feel like I've got so many things that have to be charged. I am constantly managing battery life. Swapping between charging my iPad, my Steam Deck, my PS5 controller, and all my other USB devices that have batteries is kind of a pain, especially since most of these devices now ship these days without a charging brick. Well, Ugreen sent me the Ugreen Nexode 140 watt charger that can charge multiple devices at the same time. So the days of swapping cords around all the time are over. I plugged in my Steam Deck, my iPad, and my phone all at the same time, and my Steam Deck was sitting at around 80%. The software told me that it would be finished charging in about 20 minutes, which makes it roughly 1% per minute. The plug has 3 ports on it, 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A port. And depending on which thing you plug into where, it's going to change how much wattage is going through each port. If you plug in all 3 ports, the USB-A port charges at 22.5 watts. The top USB-C port charges at 45 watts, and the bottom port charges at 65 watts. If you only use the USB-C ports, the charger powers both at 65 watts, and if you use a USB-A and 1 USB-C, you will get 100 watts out of the USB-C port. Keep in mind that the Steam Deck has a maximum charge rate of 45 watts, so I just leave my Steam Deck plugged into the middle port of the device and forget about it. If you want to simplify your charging needs, click on the link down below. Not only will you get a fantastic charging brick, but you will also be directly supporting the channel. When you talk about Project Kill Switch, there's a lot to like and there's a lot to dislike. I want to start with something about it that I don't like, and we'll probably ping pong back and forth between likes and dislikes here. Number one, I don't like how heavy this thing is. The Steam Deck is already a fairly hefty machine. I think Valve says that it weighs 669 grams, and that's a naked Steam Deck, and I'm guessing without an SD card in it. Once you put the stickers on, the tempered glass screen protector, the thumbstick caps, then you bring it up to 839 grams. Now, when you are actually playing it, that's the weight that you're going to have, 883 grams. But what does it weigh when you take it with you, when you throw this thing in your bag, which we'll talk about in a little bit? Well, let's throw the cover on there. That brings us up to 930 grams. And then finally, you put the kickstand on, and we're up to 974 grams. That is a pretty hefty chunk of weight to carry around with you in your backpack. Is it a deal breaker? I don't think so, because over time, I think you're just going to get used to it. But when you first go to play the Steam Deck in your hands with this case on it, you're going to feel that weight. Let's move on to talk about what else you're going to feel. You're going to feel the texture of this thing. This cover, the texture is absolutely fantastic. It feels great. I am usually somebody that doesn't like to put cases on my electronics. And so I was very skeptical that I would like the Steam Deck Project Kill Switch case. I really do like it. It's not perfect, but I like it. And those grips on the sides where your hands go, they just feel fantastic. You do not feel like this is going to slide out of your hand. And the texture that they have for the case as a whole is really well done. Now, when I got it all put together, one of the first things that I thought of when I had it in my hands was back when I was in the Army. We had these little laptops there that you would bring around, and they had these huge plastic cases to ruggedize them. And that's what the cover reminds me of. It has these raised vertical stripes on there. And this very much made me think of when I was in the Army and carrying around those big laptop cases. Of course, the Steam Deck fits in this case a whole lot better than those laptop cases did. It just reminded me of that. Let's talk about the stickers. Number one, the design. I think the design is fantastic. It's supposed to look like the interior circuitry of the Steam Deck, and I'm always a fan of that kind of thing. They're cut perfectly to fit the Steam Deck. Even the speaker grills have the holes cut in the absolute perfect spots, but application is a pain. Now, dbrand has a video that takes you step by step through what you're supposed to do when applying the sticker to the Steam Deck, and I followed it. But at the end of the day, the top corners of my Steam Deck, it just didn't work out the way that I wanted, and it's all kind of wrinkly on the edges. Luckily, there's good news. Even if you, like me, screw up the application of the stickers, once you put the outer shell onto the Steam Deck, it's hiding all of the places where you would make mistakes anyway. So even though I did a terrible job applying the stickers, it turned out really well, and it still looks good. You can't see my mistakes. My wife was looking at the stickers and she said, "Oh, this reminds me of when we were kids and you would get a toy and the toy would have decals that would come with it and you had to apply them yourself." And I have to admit, she was right on the money. For when I was applying the stickers to the Steam Deck, it did feel like when I was a kid putting the stickers down in just the right spot in order to make the toy look like it did on the box, which is very cool and nostalgic. One thing about the stickers that I don't like, and I can't believe that I'm saying this, I didn't think it was possible to make the Steam button and the quick access buttons harder to find without looking at them. The stickers absolutely do that. Like, it is now harder for me to find those buttons. I always have to look down when I'm trying to hit the Steam button or hit the quick access menu. And I almost feel like I need to get another set of stickers just for those buttons to give it a more tactile feel so that I can find them. dbrand sent me 2 sets of joystick caps. They sent me these black ones that you can see right here, and they also sent me the Portal themed blue and orange ones. I have to say, the blue and orange ones are the ones that I put on my Steam Deck, and they look fantastic. They feel really, really good. However, I was playing Guild Wars 2, and when I was playing Guild Wars 2, I have it so it has a capacitive sense. When I put my thumb on the right stick, it basically is holding down the right mouse button so that I can control the camera that way. And it still works when you do that, but if you are hitting the outer edge, your thumb is not quite hitting that middle part, and the capacitance goes away. The one problem here is that the edges of those thumbstick caps are raised up just a little bit more than they otherwise would be, and because of that, I think that you are going to sometimes miss out on the capacitive touch. If you don't use the capacitive touch for anything, then I would absolutely 100% recommend the thumbstick caps to anybody out there. But if you are using the capacitive touch on the right thumbstick, or the left one for that matter, in any shape or form, you're probably going to end up taking them off anyway, which is a little bit frustrating because they look so cool. Let's talk about the top cover. I am hot and cold on this thing. First off, I like that it covers up the top so that you can't see any of the buttons. You can't access any buttons. All you can access when you've got this thing on your Steam Deck is the charging port, which is great. It means you're not actually accidentally going to have your Steam Deck turn on for any reason at all. I like how it protects the joysticks. In fact, right after getting this thing all put together, I dropped my Steam Deck, it bounced off the wall, and you could even see that there was a little paint on the top cover, which meant that that paint would have been where the wall came into contact with my thumbstick, so it protected it. And I like that a lot. This thing fits perfectly, and that's the problem. It fits so well that it is really hard to put on and take off. I think over time I'll get used to it, but man, I wish that they had some other way, some other method of getting this thing to clamp onto the Steam Deck and stay there. But hey, they've got really smart engineers working there, and I'm not one of them. So I'm sure that this is probably the best solution. I just wish it was a little easier to put on and take off. When you compare the Steam Deck with the Project Kill Switch case on it to the actual case that came with it, I mean, obviously, this is smaller. It definitely feels more dense, and I feel like this is incredibly rugged. While I think this is also a really good solution, and they even give you the ability to like carry your charging cord there, I do think that I would feel perfectly fine just chucking this in my bag. This is very, very well protected, and that's really why you're getting this thing. Again, it feels great in the hands, and I like that it's slim and not super bulky. It means it takes up a lot less room in my bag. As a content creator that regularly films the Steam Deck, one of the things that I've been using is this little tray, which is the tray that came with my Wii U. It held the gamepad for the Wii U. It was awesome, and it worked perfectly for the Steam Deck. But this kickstand, this thing is clutch. It is so fantastic. It attaches magnetically. It fits on there perfectly. It gives you a great angle for playing or for, in my case, shooting a video about it. And that right there is worth the price of admission, I think. It's so cool. I wish that Valve had built that into the Steam Deck. I'm sure that they didn't have room inside, but it would have been awesome if they did. As much as I like this case, there is one huge drawback that I haven't mentioned yet, and that's that as soon as you put this case on, it's no longer compatible with a Steam Deck dock. It's not going to work with the JSOX dock. I already tried it. And if it's not going to work with that, then it probably won't work with the official dock either. You could always just plug in a dongle instead of using a dock, but that's something to keep in mind. I really like this case. This is kind of a weird thing coming from me because I usually don't put cases or protective shells on my electronics. I still haven't decided if I'm going to keep this on the Steam Deck, but man, that experience of dropping it like literally less than an hour after I put it on here, that made me feel like, okay, maybe I need to keep that shell on there, especially because it doesn't have, like, there is no Apple Care for your Steam Deck. Valve, maybe you should offer insurance for Steam Decks. It might be handy. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of Project Kill Switch. Are there other cases that you really, really like? Let me know in the comments section down below. And of course, if it's your first time here, please subscribe. From the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill.